Hello. This is a very brief discussion of how to help you make the most out of the poster format. Or in other words, how to help you avoid the dreaded vertical essay disease. This is one of the templates available for you to download in the poster research in the research poster guidelines. You can see that while it does the job, it's fairly standard. It's fairly plain. Why is it plain? Well, one reason is that it has 3 clear columns in the main area, and in fact 4 clear columns if we count the abstract area. Another reason is that it looks like it has 2 very clear rows. We have 1 row going along the top and 1 row going along the bottom. Everything is neat and organized, but rather plain. So how can we make it look more like a poster that takes advantage of the format? Well, one thing we might do is come to the Design tab and pick a different color. So perhaps you think that looks better. I think it does. It's a little bit more interesting. It's a little bit less staid. What else might we do? Well, notice that it has the graphics grouped in 4 little groups here. So maybe we can move those. So we could take this box perhaps and move it to the side along with its title. We might delete that later. We might keep it. But for right now, let's do that. Let's move the introduction down here. So far, so good. Now, we might take this poster, this picture, move it here. Notice as I'm and take this table and move it up here. Notice that as I move it, Microsoft often has little figures that allow me to line them up correctly. That's why it all looks so nice. You can see that it's helping me line things up. That's pretty great. So I take this little caption here, and again, it helps me line them up. That's pretty good there. Okay, cool. So I've got my my first attempt at moving things around, and they look pretty good. Now I want to keep this graphic because, as I've said, graphical arguments are always good, and I don't necessarily want it to be bigger, so I'm going to move off. And this one here, I like it, but it's very small. And I think I want to add a little bit more oomph to my presentation. So I'm going to expand this one. In fact, I'm going to expand it quite a bit. And you'll notice that it's already set to go behind the other images. Is great. If it wasn't, I could right click and send to the back, or right click and send forward, and I'll go send to the back again. Okay, so now I'm getting somewhere, and that's pretty good. So now I've got a situation where I have the introduction in the lower left, but I know it's the introduction because it's clearly labeled. I've got this neat background image, and I don't want to forget this chart, which I thought was pretty cool, so I'm going to get it, and I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. So like that. I notice this one has transparency on it, which is pretty neat. But okay. Now you notice the image in the background is kind of hard to see, so I'm going to modify it just a little bit. And I can go to I don't know. Obviously, I am not an expert. Format. So I can go here and I can say things like, give it an effect, right? So maybe I'd like to have soft edges, and I want it to be very soft. That's great. That's a little bit less jarring. I also want it to be not quite so bright, and so I think I'm going to take the color down a little bit, make it less saturated. If I wanted to do an artistic effect, I could do something like that. That's kind of a cool artistic effect right there. And then I think I'm going to, let's see, make it brighter, which actually makes it a little bit less dark. And I'm going to make it even less saturated. And I'm going to remove the background. Oh. Perfect. Sure, why not? In fact, I'm going to have it keep a couple more areas. So you can see I'm just sitting here telling it what to keep, because there's some things I want to keep I think are pretty good. Excellent. So I'm going to keep the changes. So now you can see it still interferes with this graphic, and were I really doing a good job of it, I would either increase the transparency of this picture or change the colors here on the bar graph. Right, I might make it a little bit bigger so it's a little bit harder, so it's a little bit easier to see. There we go. And I could change the color a little bit. Now what else might I do? Well, perhaps I'm going to move references out of here, put them up here on the left hand side over here, just because, again, I want to sort of break up that design, and I don't need an abstract, so I'm going to take this box and I'm going to destroy it. And in fact, maybe that will allow me to say, have this go up and over, and I will send it back. Excellent. And now I can move these pictures here, and this one, whoops. And I can move this one to the side. Perfect. Okay, so now I don't have a poster that has 3 columns anymore. It still has 2 rows, and I'm not thrilled with that. So one thing I might do is I should move this over here, move this one down. Oops. And take this one and extend it down. And so now I don't really have multiple rows and columns, and if I really wanted to, I could expand this a little bit more so that the image is kind of everywhere. And now it's even, and if I shrink this a little bit, you can see the image a little bit more, make this one a little narrower. Great. So is this a great looking poster? No, not exactly. But you can see how by moving things around and making them essentially unaligned. I broke up the columns pretty well. I tried to break up the rows pretty well. I changed the default colors. I added a background image. Doing these sorts of things helps make the poster look more like a poster. It looks more like it helps give the sense that you're really taking advantage of the medium of the poster and not just taking a bunch of papers and posting them. There we go. That looks even better, I think. So I hope that this brief little discussion about how to move things around and how to organize things so that you look like you're taking more advantage of the poster medium was helpful. I will see you in class. Thanks very much for watching.